right, it's finally time to sell our beloved 2011 FJ Cruiser. It is a Trail Teams edition in Army Green, and we're marketing this for someone who is looking at getting into overlanding, because my wife and I use this for the last 3 years just as an adventure vehicle, and we have it pretty dialed in for a two-person, self-sustained, self-contained vehicle. And it's been all over the country, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Wyoming, Montana, and we've had a really great time with it, but we're gonna be taking a break from the overlanding and doing some other projects. So rather than have this thing sit in the garage for the next few years, we'd like to sell this and hopefully get it to somebody else that's gonna use it for similar adventure travel. So we're just gonna do a walk around and go over highlights, some of the highlights that are on this vehicle. There'll be a full written advertisement on Bring a Trailer, as well as more pictures of work we've done along the way. And this is basically just kind of an overview of some of the major components on here. So starting from the front, as you can see, it is an Army Green FJ Cruiser. It is lifted on the Icon suspension. You can see down here, they've got the Icon upper control arms and coilovers. It's on 35-inch tires, Icon wheels. We've got a snorkel here that goes directly into the airbox and keeps a lot of the dust, and sometimes when we do water crossing, it helps having the air intake up here. All the auxiliary lights on here are from Baja Designs, and I'll get more in depth with those and the S-Pod and how they're controlled once we go inside the vehicle. On the front, we've got a ResFab custom bumper. This company has since gone out of business and they don't manufacture these anymore, but it's a full steel bumper with obviously shackle points, and we also have a steel skid plate up front. Baja Designs fog lights in here. A worn VR Evo 10,000 pound winch with synthetic line and a factor 55 flat link here. Custom grill from DP. Shit. Just keep rolling. You're fine. Stay right there. We have a DB custom metal mesh grill here with a custom Godzilla sign on the front. This from the previous owner. He named this Godzilla and I kind of stuck with it. These headlights are custom headlights from Freedom Retrofits. These are actually pretty new. We put these on this past summer, and they have the halo light, and the interior bezels are actually paint matched to the green. And then these are LED projector headlights. They're a pretty nice upgrade from the standard lights. This is a Australian Alamosa fiberglass GMRS antenna. I think it's 6 gain, I'm not sure, but it's very durable and it's on a big bungee. So one of the things I liked about this is where I mounted it. The very top of this is basically your overhead clearance for the vehicle. So as you're traveling down the trails, if something like a log going across, if it touches this, you know you're gonna have to find another way because you're not gonna clear it. All right, on this side, we have an alu-cab shadow on 270-degree awning. When we go outside, I'll demonstrate how that sets up. ResFab sliders, steel sliders, more Icon shocks here in the back, along with heavy-duty springs, because with all this on the vehicle, there are quite a few extra pounds on here. So the heavy-duty shocks in the back and the 700-pound shocks that we put on the Icon coilovers really help carry the load. This is an Expedition 1 steel bumper with Baja Designs rear lights that are controlled from the inside on it. We've got a 1-gallon propane tank mounted to the rear, which is nice because when you see the cooking station inside, kind of how it's set up, you don't ever have to take this off. You can just run propane directly to where you set your stove up and do all your cooking. Full-size spare with Icon wheel. Couple of roto packs mounted to the rear, 2-gallon water, 2-gallon fuel. This is a WeBoost signal booster. This is for your cellular service. It actually gives you 1 or 2 extra bars when you're out in areas with limited coverage. It won't, if you have 0 bars, you'll still have 0 bars. It doesn't create a signal, but it'll boost an existing signal. Baja Designs overhead lights. We have 6 of these mounted on the roof rack, 2 on each side and 2 in the rear. And that just, they all come on at once. They're dimmable and it gives you a good working area when you pull into camp at night. This is the Roof Nest Falcon. It's an all aluminum hard shell rooftop tent for 2 people. Again, I'll show you how this sets up when we get outside. On top, it's got the Roof Nest crossbars, and we're gonna throw in the set of Max Tracks. Up there, there's a pair of black Max Tracks that'll come with it. As you come around this side, there's not much different than the other side, other than there's no awning on this side. This is where the ladder attaches for the roof nest. And as you move up the side here, you'll see, there's more exterior lights on the outside here that hook up to the roof. On top, there's a 180-watt sun flare solar panel, and we'll be able to see that once we set up the tent outside. And that is permanently adhered with automotive adhesive to the roof nest. And then you've got cables right here that run down the A-pillar and into a controller box here and connect to the battery. So there's a Group 31 Odyssey battery in there. So when you're parked outside, you could easily run the fridge and a bunch of other stuff nonstop as long as you have some sunlight that is constantly replenishing the battery through that solar panel. This is the big Baja Design 52-inch curved overhead light. It's very bright. I didn't use it very often because usually we were in camp before nightfall. So, but it is a nice asset to have. I think it's $2,000 just for the light. And then it's got the DB Customs A-pillar mount. These are the Baja Designs ditch lights. And I believe that is pretty much the walk around for the outside. Inside the back, we decided to, since it was just my wife and I, we took the back seats out and built this, come around here, and built this custom platform, which has a couple of 52-inch slide-out drawers. And of course, all the interior components are included. I'll throw the seats back in there and just put them in there. So these are all not permanently. These have locking mechanisms. You can see they're full 52-inch locking drawer. And we kept all of our camping stuff on one side. This also has a little slide out tray. This is kind of where we'd make coffee or put our stove. Put our stove here and then just run the gas line over to the propane tank here. And another thing we noticed that it's a 1/2-inch piece of plywood, so there is some flex to it. If you're putting something heavy on it, you can kind of lean it on the drawer. Use these big heavy-duty slides to hold anything heavier you want to put up there. The other side's similar, but it has a couple of dividers built into it. If you come over here, you can see we'd put like utensils and stuff in here, pots and pans, and then stove, little gas canisters, coffee maker, and all that stuff over there. That's something I built. I'm a carpenter, so it's all made out of wood. It's fastened down through the factory mounting points that you can access once you pull the drawers out, and also up front. It's going to come with this DFG off-road refrigerator slide. It kind of comes out in angles, so it's easy to get into. And it also will include this Dometic CFX 45, CFX 345 refrigerator. This is fairly new. It's only, it's less than a year old. And it has the factory insulating tank on it, or insulating blanket on it. Inside here, there are some molly racks from Orange Box Fabrication. There's one on the driver's side here. And we had a bunch of molly panels on here with like fire extinguisher, first aid kit, tow straps and shackles and stuff like that. I just currently have the roof nest ladder attached to it right here. Over on this side, there's another Orange Box storage container, and it just kind of pies off this area here where you can kind of store stuff in there. I'd keep rain gear, stuff I need to access quickly in there. All right, let's go into the interior of the vehicle. On the inside, you can see how the mounting of the rear box is. These are actually the cargo strap tie downs that I had to take off from the trunk area to get the box in. And I just refastened them to the factory mounting points for the rear seats here. And then I use this, I can't remember what these are called, but this, I can't remember. Whatever these stainless steel tie downs are to actually pull downward on the back of the box and keep it secure. These up here are just little side wing flaps that can swing out of the way that make the box a nice shape to slide in and out. And it also gives you a little extra platform space if you want to put bags, boxes, or whatever up here. There's even a couple of tie downs right here in case you want to store items there that you don't want to slide around. You can loop a strap over that and tie them down so everything's secured inside the cabin. Up front, everything is kind of as Toyota left it. These are aluminum hand grips from Godzila Designs. That's actually the previous owner of this vehicle. And then we've got an upgraded head unit. There's also another Orange Box Molly panel down here that holds the Midland MXT 550 watt GMRS radio that's included. No changes there. I've got a couple of ram ball mounts here, one for the mic, and then another one up here that we use to mount an iPad that we could swing out or leave here for the passenger to navigate from. Lighting, we mounted the 4x4 S-Pod right here, and it's just a little LCD control panel that you can either turn off or just by touching it, turn it back on. And I've got 8 channels on here assigned. I've got the front fog lights, the ditch lights, the 50-inch overhead driving light, work lights, which are the ones mounted up on the roof rack. The rear lights are in the rear bumper. You can turn the fridge on and off. There's a ARB dual air compressor mounted in the engine compartment, what we'll look at here in a minute. And then there's also an ARB front locker that we can engage. Once the air compressor is charged up, you can engage the front locker with this button. A couple other features. It gives you the circuit panel temperature for all the circuits. Right now nothing's running, so it's at 71 degrees. And then it'll also give you battery status. All right, we're gonna do a light demonstration and kind of go through all the functions of these. I'll go all the way through these as the camera's outside the vehicle, and I'll also demonstrate the new Freedom Design or Freedom Retrofits headlights. So we'll start with the headlights. Those are the parking lights and halos. Okay, now we'll do the front. We'll just go through the fog lights down below. Ditch lights. All right, in preparation for sale, we went and changed the engine oil, front and rear differential fluids, and put in a fresh air filter. That's all we did for service. Up front here, we have a ARB dual air compressor that runs off the S-Pod. You can turn it on and off. And rather than just using the air compressor, we actually had a custom mount with a 1 gallon Via Air tank beneath it. So this compressor line goes down and pressurizes the 1 gallon tank, so you have a little bit of capacity rather than running just off the compressor like in an on-demand fashion. It actually has a little bit of onboard, not much, but has a little bit of onboard capacity. And then from the tank, it comes back up here through a stainless steel line to this manifold. And in the manifold, we've got a quick disconnect right here that you can plug an air hose into for airing up your tires or using any type of air tool. And off the manifold, this is the solenoid that runs the air line down to the front ARB front locker. So to activate that, it's an air locker. So once you push the button on the S-Pod, after this is charged up, you'll be able to fire some air down there and engage the front locker. So front and rear locked, factory rear locker, ARB front locker. The engine, 100% stock. We didn't do anything to it. Toyota got it right from the get-go, so it remains 100% stock. We've had no problems with it, just routine oil changes, spark plugs and stuff like that. A couple people have commented in the pictures about the color of the block. The block has, I mean, we use this vehicle quite a bit. The block has dust and dirt kind of baked into the aluminum. I don't really know how to clean it, and it's totally cosmetic. There's nothing wrong with the metal. It looks weird in contrast to how clean everything is. I had the engine compartment detailed in preparation for sale, so it's kind of light brown. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just cosmetic. This is an Odyssey Group 31 battery. It has quite a bit more capacity than the factory battery did. And, you know, you can see how we've connected everything to that. The winch comes off of it. The S-Pod right here comes off of it. These are all 8 of the channels, the work lights, the light bar, the ditch lights, the fog lights. You can trace all these to the various components. We relocated the worn winch controller because the way it's mounted in that front bumper, there's just not enough room for it. So this is the remote location of the worn winch controller. And I do have a wireless winch controller that comes with this. All you have to do is press, you have to turn the vehicle on, but this is like a Bluetooth connection to the winch controller, so now you can winch in and out. This right here is the Smart Solar Charge Controller. This is what controls the solar panel on the top. These are the wires coming down the A-pillars. There's a negative down there, and it comes over into the smart controller, and then this goes back out to the battery to keep the battery charged off the smart controller. The nice thing about this is it has a Bluetooth feature, and there's an app that you can open up that talks to this, and it gives you all your current charge data, historical charge data, and you can kind of monitor how everything's going through the solar portion and your battery health. All right, there's so many things on here. I have a 3-page spreadsheet of all the items that have been modified on here, and I know I glossed over a couple of them, so I'm going to hit some of the highlights here too that I missed and tell you like when they were installed. So it's got Total Chaos lower control arms, and I just had the lower control arms rebuilt at 115,000 miles, actually 116,000 miles. It has 124,000 miles on it now. I said the upper control arms with Delta joint and 2.5-inch coilovers with 700-pound springs are from Icon. It has Timbren bump stops. The OEM front spindles are gusseted for all the extra weight and leverage of the 35-inch wheels and tires. Remanufactured brake calipers at 100,000 miles. New rotors at 111,000 miles. New brake pads at the same time, 111,000. Front locker was put in at 100,000 miles. It is re-geared with nitro gears, front and rear, 4.56 gears, front and rear. Those were put in at 100,000 miles too when we did the locker. New wheel bearings and hubs at 88,000 miles. In the back, also Icon 2.5-inch long travel with remote reservoir. Metaltech long travel HD springs. ResFab upper and lower control arms with polyurethane bushings. New brake pads, remanufactured brake calipers and brake rotors at 111,000 miles. Also re-geared in the rear, 4.56 gear, and new hub seals at the same time. Front bumper is from ResFab. The sliders are from ResFab. The rear bumper is from Expedition 1. There's an RCI engine skid plate. There's FJ Toyman rear shock skids, and that's just like a little skid plate that covers the bottom of the shock so it doesn't get banged on a rock or something. And there's actually lower link skids from Trailworks. The headlights I mentioned are from Freedom Retrofits. I put those on at 116,000 miles. Baja Designs lights all around. DB Customs for the cowl mounts, the overhead light mounts, as well as the grill. The S-Pod, okay, the stereo. It's a Pioneer AVIC 8100 NEX head unit. It's got JL Audio 6x9 door speakers, JL Audio 3/4-inch Evolution C5 series dash tweeters. It has an Alpine 4-channel amp. It comes with that Midland MXT 500 GMRS radio and the Alamosa antenna. The rack that everything's mounted on here is from Baja Racks. It is their flat utilities small all steel roof rack. We used Baja Rack rooftop tent mounts to mount the rooftop tent to it. This is the PRG snorkel, General tires, the Grabber ATX 315/70 17s, Icon compression bronze wheels, Bushwhacker fender flares. The rear, come around here, I'm going to show you this. The rear differential has a scuba modification to help vent the rear differential when you're doing water crossings. We actually took the diff breather off and ran a hose from that up into the fuel filler cap. So this is actually coming directly from the differential breather, and put a new breather up here. So you're protected from any water intrusion into the rear diff up to your rear tail lights here. WeatherTech floor mats up front. So this past summer in July of 2022, I drove this out to New Jersey to Garden State Undercoating and saw Chris. Chris did a full restoration of the frame, the whole underside. Being a Midwest vehicle, it had a little bit of surface rust on it. Granted, I don't drive it in the winter. It stays in this heated garage in the winter. We use it in the summer to go out west, so we didn't really have any salt issues per se. But he took care of all the surface rust, treated the metal, primed it, repainted everything, and did a fluid film on the inside of all the frame components anywhere he could get in with the fluid film. There's a bunch of pictures of the restoration on Garden State Undercoating's website or their Facebook page, and I'll also have a bunch of pictures of the process that he gave me when he was doing it, and those will also be on the Bring a Trailer photo album. And now for those who are actually going to buy this and use it for what it's designed for, I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up the rooftop tent and the awning. Once you get into camp, you'll notice that one person can set it up pretty easily. I usually just start from the back, unlatch the tent. It's like 12 degrees outside, so these shocks are like a little reluctant to extend right now. Now I'll show you how the awning sets up. That's pretty much the awning. It's got a little leg right here to give yourself some slope. If it's raining, it'll run off there. Has a built-in leg right here. Need more support. A lot of times you do not need more support. If it's really windy, there's built-in tie-down straps that are tucked in right up here in that corner, and the front corner, and those can get pulled down. They stow inside the beam right here. You can see how it's kind of stuffed in there. So they're like these nice straps. You just put a stake in the ground, and that's that. And then the nice thing about it being a 270 is that everything clears back here, and you got coverage to take care of everything back here and have nice coverage all the way up to the passenger door. And you have access to all 4 doors with everything deployed. And it gives you a nice little place to live when you're out camping and you need to get out of the shade or the rain. And breakdown is just as easy. It takes just a couple minutes more than it did to set up, but one person can easily do it. So that's why this was our little 2-man adventure vehicle, and it's done so well. So I hope whoever picks this up enjoys it and keeps using it for the same purpose.